bills on our agenda today. File item 8, SB 1327, has been pulled by the author. We have 2 bills on consent, file item 10 and 11. I know we have authors here in the room. Thank you for being here on time. The custom of the Senate is to have at least one other member present to begin as a subcommittee, so I would like to invite colleagues who are here in the building to come down to room 1200 so we can begin our business, as we have 2 authors in the room ready to go. And there we have so we don't have a quorum here yet, but we will begin as a subcommittee. Oh, she's not. Now we have 3 authors in the room. I know we have a lot of committees meeting at the same time. We could offer some bonus testimony here this morning on the A's coming to Sacramento. Anybody like to come up to the microphone? I guess that's not on the agenda, not agendized, so we can't do that, huh? All right, so we'll pause as we wait for another committee member to join. All right, the Committee on Revenue and Tax will come back to order. We do have another member present, so we can begin as a subcommittee. So we're going to begin with file item number 1, SB 964 by Senator Ciarto. Sir, please come forward with your witnesses and we can begin.
Are we ready?
We are, sir.
Okay.
Floor
Well,
is yours.
thank you, Honorable Chair, and I am here to present SB 964. And thank you, Senator Bradford, for getting to the meeting this morning so we can get started. First, I would like to thank the chair and the committee staff for all the work with my staff on this important measure, and I will be accepting the committee amendments. SB 964 is a very important bill in response to two recent Supreme Court rulings that have drawn our state's current guidelines for the sale of tax defaulted properties into constitutional question. With me here today to best explain the important issue is Ensign Mason, who is a treasurer tax collector for San Bernardino County, to explain the technical issues facing counties. And then I also have Jim Manley, who is the legal counsel from the Pacific Legal Foundation, to explain the legal implications of the Supreme Court rulings.
Thank you, sir. So our practice here in the committee is 2 witnesses, 2 minutes each as primary witnesses. So you may begin when you're ready.
Good morning. Am I working here?
Touch that thing. And
There we go. Thank you. My name is Ensign Mason. I am the Auditor, Controller, Treasurer, Tax Collector for the County of San Bernardino. I want to start out by saying I represent myself, not my association, and I'm here to support SB 964. I am stuck between a rock and a hard place. On the one side, we have the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution that says you cannot take people's property without just compensation. And that's backed by a recent Supreme Court ruling, Hennepin County, where the justices said 9-0 very strongly that yes, this does apply to tax defaulted property. On the other hand, I have state law that says that, well, we have an auction process. That's how we comply. That's how we're sure that we are paying fair value. And it works. People get their equity and the process works. But however, we have this thing in state law that says that if a nonprofit or a government agency objects, we shall pull that property for the purpose of selling it to them, usually at far below market value. Oftentimes, the homeowner gets nothing. It is in violation of the Fifth Amendment and the SCOTUS ruling. So which law am I supposed to follow? I have two sides that say, opposing things. I need some kind of legislative solution to this. We also have something that concerns me. We have class action lawsuits popping up across the country. Recently, there was a $108 million settlement in Minnesota. There's 2 more going on in Oregon and New Jersey. California is much, much bigger than Minnesota, so this is going to be a much, much bigger deal. We need to fix this so that we at least are doing things correctly from here on out. I'm not sure if we could stop the lawsuit, which is probably going to show up sooner or later. But we need to fix this so at least we have mitigated the damages going forward. Thank you.
thank you, sir. Next witness.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I'm Jim Manley. I'm the State Legal Policy Deputy Director for Pacific Legal Foundation. PLF was founded 50 years ago right here in Sacramento. We have 18 wins at the Supreme Court, including Tyler versus Hennepin County, the case that brings us here today. And the simple message from the court in that case was governments cannot take more than is owed when they're collecting a property tax debt. And so reforming California's Chapter 8 process is not optional. It is required by the Constitution, required by the Supreme Court's ruling. As Ensign suggests, it is just good public policy because it is ultimately going to cost the state millions of dollars in claims if it's not reformed. Um, uh, while California law generally prevents the government from taking more than is owed, the Chapter 8 process creates this problem because the sale happens off market. One county transferred 4 undeveloped commercial properties to another government for less than the assessed value of just one of those parcels. There are millions of dollars in claims outstanding. Regardless of the reason, counties cannot transfer property under Chapter 8 for less than fair market value. If they do, they face claims under Tyler for taking property without compensation. And this bill gives counties the information they need to set the price of a property in a Chapter 8 sale at fair market value, at least. If the property is worth more than the tax debt and the fees and penalties, then it should really go to a public auction and the government should get the most money for it. But if it does go to a Chapter 8 sale, it should at least be sold for the amount that the property is actually worth and not a severely discounted price that deprives the property owner of their equity in their property.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we're going to now have those who would like to speak in support of the measure to do a Me Too, we call it here in committee, where you come up to the microphone and give your name, affiliation, and your support for the bill. So those who would like to add on now, this is the moment to come to the microphone.
Huffman Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, along with the Apartment Association of Greater Los Angeles, AOA California, the California Taxpayer Protection Committee, Central Coast Taxpayers Association, Central Valley BizFed, Central Valley Taxpayers Association, Glendora Chamber of Commerce, the LA Taxpayers Association, Monterey County Farm Bureau, Nisi Farmers League, Orange County Taxpayers Association, Placer County Taxpayers Association, San Joaquin County Farm Bureau, Solana County Taxpayers Association, and the Western Manufactured Housing Communities Association. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tobias Wolken with the California Taxpayers Association in support.
Thank you. Anybody else here in the hearing room want to indicate their support? Seeing none, we'll go to opposition. There are opponents to the measure that would like to come forward. Provide the same opportunity, 2 minutes for two primary witnesses in opposition.
Stay available. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members. Karen Lang on behalf of the California Association of County Treasurer Tax Collectors, the other 58. Want to thank you very much for the analysis that outlines the issue before the committee this morning. It really helped lay out the issues very nicely. As noted, the tax collectors do rely on published guidance from the state controller's office when they execute tax sales. And when Tyler versus Hennepin was decided last summer, I reached out to the controller's office to find out what, if anything, would need to change so that we could get ahead of it. We didn't want to be out of compliance with constitutional law. And we were advised at that time by the legal team at the controller's office that no changes needed to be made because the Chapter 7 sale process provides for excess proceeds in a year to claim them. And we were not advised of any changes. So when the author decided to introduce this bill again, I shared the letters we had produced for the previous two pieces of legislation on this issue, and also encouraged them to consult with the controller's office, since that's what we rely on, is the Chapter 7 and Chapter 8 tax sale procedures that are published by the controller's office. That's how my client executes the sales. Unfortunately, the bill is premised on the fact that my client is stealing equity from homeowners. The reality is that even though the bill says it's the Home Equity Theft Prevention Act, or a version of that, the actual reality of what Chapter 8 is used for is going to be very problematic properties, vacant properties, properties that are brownfields that need to be cleaned up. I don't think that there's been an example yet that we've been provided where my client has taken an occupied residential home to a tax sale and sold it for less than it was worth. There just aren't examples of that here in California. This is the third time the bill has been attempted. We haven't, again, like I said, we haven't found any examples. And if the committee passes the bill the way it is, it doesn't just affect residential properties. It affects undeveloped parcels, commercial property, and they'll have to go to the BOE for every parcel that they need to dispose of. And that could include thousands and thousands of parcels that are sometimes bunched together. For example, Imperial County has hundreds that they need to dispose of. They group them together in 15 and do a Chapter 8 sale. So we're very concerned about what this will do because it goes too far, and we would urge an a no vote or an abstention. And I want to pass it off to Patrick Sullivan from Lake County, the treasurer tax collector there, who is dealing with 12,000 parcels he's under court order to sell. Thank you.
Patrick Sullivan, Treasurer Tax Collector for Lake County. Patrick Sullivan, Treasurer Tax Collector for Lake County. Thank you to the committee for the opportunity to be here today. I just want to share some details about the situation in Lake County. The majority of our standard parcels sell in Chapter 7 auctions without any issue, but these are not the majority of our tax defaulted parcels. The majority have an assessed value less than $10,000, most of them less than $5,000. Our average tax bill is just $32 on a lot of these parcels. We have 12,000 paper lots that were created by land speculators over a century ago. 3,500 of them are already auction eligible. We have done auctions of 1,000 parcels in the past for the more valuable parcels. This is nearly broken our office. We're a small office. The resources involved are enormous to go through these sales. Mostly they receive no bids, almost 80% of them. Once we go to the paper parcels completely, we would expect no bids. It costs $500 to $700 in general fund per parcel. So in order to go through those 12,000 parcels, ultimately, we are talking millions of dollars in additional staff resources needed to go through Chapter 7 to then go to Chapter 8. I guess the parcels are undevelopable in most cases. They're geographically or geologically unstable. There's no roads. Every once in a while in the past, one would sell to an unsuspecting buyer who would then contact the county. We've had people wish to donate them. We've had people that have bought them after a more predatory buyer bought one at auction and flipped them. So this is a major burden for our office, and that is the majority of what we have. We're not generally dealing with Chapter 8s for occupied homes, for instance. One of the concerns we have about the suggestion that the BOE can do this is the timeline, 45 days, whether that's really viable. It results in additional delays going through Chapter 7. We have to duplicate the Chapter 7 and Chapter 8 process, spend that money twice. And I'd just say Chapter 8 sales are erratic in time and frequency. The volume of properties could vary significantly. 1,000 of these paper lots versus a mix of residential or commercial or vacant blighted lots. That's often what we deal with. We did have 4, I don't know if the reference earlier was to our county.
You can sum up, please.
But yeah, often assessed values are lower. There are issues with these lots. These low value parcels are an issue for us, and there are other ways to address them.
Great. Thank you very much. We're going to now do Me Too's for those in opposition to come to the microphone.
Mark Stivers with the California Housing Partnership. Since the Chapter 8 process has created a lot of lots for affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Eric Lurie speaking on behalf of the California State Association of Counties and the Rural County Representatives of California in opposition. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Mr. Chair and members, Jean Hurst here today on behalf of the urban counties of California in opposition.
Thank you.
Jeff Neal representing the boards of supervisors of Contra Costa County and Lake County, also in opposition.
Great. Anybody else here in the hearing room in opposition? Last chance to come to the microphone. Okay. We'll close the public portion of our hearing, bring the matter back to the committee. Questions or comments? Senator, do you want to speak to some of the concerns that the opponents have raised?
Sure, I can do that, and I'll do it more on a kind of an overview method. I'm going to get into the weeds with each of the parcels that they're talking about. Many of the parcels that they're talking about are not affected by this at all. What we are talking about are parcels, and while the opponent stated that they had never seen one of these, I've seen 2 on my block, and these were people. They lost their home, and they lost the equity that they had in their home, and they got to be homeless. That's what brought it to me. I'm not brainwashed by the Howard Jarvis people or anybody else. These are things that I see in real life. My wife is a tax professional, and she deals with people that are affected like this. So this is not something that affects some of these larger parcels that have no value. That we're talking about being able to protect people, because a lot of times behind these properties are a family or or people that would have equity otherwise, but they just don't have the wherewithal to continue to do what it takes to maintain and own their property. And so when it goes to foreclosure, whatever, we shouldn't be compounding their issues by taking what little equity they have and giving it away. In other words, it is not their money to give away. It is the people who own the property. If there's equity in it, it should go back to those people, and it shouldn't be that hard of a process. And with that, I would ask for your I vote.
That wasn't a close. It's just the first question.
Oh, okay. That could be a close. Okay.
So I appreciate your recognition of the heart of what you're trying to do, which is to focus on residential. Heard the testimony that in the case of Lake County, many of these are not residential parcels.
Right.
And I think the other witness talked about problematic properties, which could be alleys and roadways and the rest. So are you open to trying to narrow your bill to just residential properties then?
Well, it depends because some commercial properties are also owned by a family or somebody else that may be in the same situation. And so some commercial properties, yes, but the properties they're talking about are blighted properties that have no value pretty much. And they've been either devalued by the things that are going on around them. But I will be more than happy to work with anybody to ensure that people are protected in this case and that the money that is rightfully theirs stays theirs and allows them the time to be able to, after this catastrophic event in their lives, be able to take that money and at least try to rebuild their lives off of the money that their family or themselves have in equity, and instead of having it taken away from them.
As you know, I'm in agreement with the basic thrust of the bill and the amendments you've taken. To me, satisfy an obligation to ensure that if there's value in the property, it goes back to the property owner. But I do think these issues that have been raised are different than the heart of what your bill is proposing to do. And I'd encourage you, if the bill moves forward today, to take seriously those. There are easy opportunities for you in this bill to carve out
Yes.
these examples that we heard this morning.
Yes, we'd be more than happy to continue to work on the bill if it goes forward. But like I said, the main thrust of this bill is to protect people from losing and compounding the issues that they've had, and because they've lost enough, maybe due to their own inability to manage their lives. But if there's equity for them to be had, it belongs to them, not to everyone else who wants that piece of property.
I get it, but the challenge of making a law for the state of California is that you have 1 million parcels, and there's all kinds of examples, that unique examples. And so it's a part of our challenge in the lawmaking side to make sure that the unintended consequences are what we watch for more than the heart of a number of the policy proposals, because it's easy to not understand all those complexities and those elements. And I do think the witnesses in opposition have raised some good examples that don't interfere with the thrust of what you're trying to do. And so while they're not part of the amendments today, I do think they should be taken seriously.
Oh, absolutely. We take everybody's concerns seriously and are willing to work with anybody who wants to work with us on making the bill better. But being in compliance with what the Supreme Court has already ruled is very important, because at the end of the day, when those issues are challenged, and we lose, it's not them losing, it's the taxpayers that are losing. So with that, if there are no other questions,
I don't know, I'm going to ask.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Any other questions here from members of the committee? All right. Well, I'm willing to support your bill today. Appreciate the amendments that you've taken. And I do think that it's important, from my point of view, that you work with some of the opponents in their unique situation, so that while we're trying to create a bill that affects everybody, that we take into account some of these more unique circumstances that have nothing to do with the residential property owner who unfortunately has not paid their taxes and is in default, and you want to protect their value, which I agree with. But there's so many other examples that I think you can work on as if the bill moves forward today.
Like
that, would you like to close?
No, what we talked about before could be my closing. I just appreciate it. I vote when you get the
When
members.
we do have a quorum, we'll entertain a motion on your measure.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for being here on this. All right. All right. Next up is file item. Do we have an author here? Senator Wiener. Where is he? Oh, there he is. Oh. Okay, we're going to move to file item number 2. This is SB 1031 by Senator Wiener. Thank you for your patience this morning, Senator Wiener. Did you want to take that one first, or you want to wait for your co?
I don't think she'll be here.
Okay. All right, so we will begin with file item 2, SB 1031. Senator Wiener, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'm here to present Senate Bill 1031, the Connect Bay Area Act. My legislative partner in this bill is Senator Wahab, who unfortunately has a conflict, and she very much wishes that she could be there. And I want to thank Senator Wahab for working very closely and collaboratively with us on this bill. And Mr. Chairman, I also want to thank you for your deep engagement along with Senator Cortese, the chair of transportation. We've spent a lot of time together working amongst ourselves and with diverse stakeholders. Yesterday in Transportation Committee, we committed to a series of amendments that will be taking and presumably in the appropriations committee. I can read those now if the chair would like.
I think that it set the stage right for those
Okay.
who are here potentially
you.
offering testimony.
Okay, I'll do that perhaps at the end of my opening remarks. Colleagues, public transportation is part of the lifeblood of the Bay Area. Even post-pandemic, a huge number of Bay Area residents rely on transit to get around, whether it's every day or once a week. These systems are critical to our economy, to our quality of life, to trying to control congestion on our freeways, which would spike without transit, and of course, helping us meet our climate goals. We need more public transportation, not less. Even before the pandemic, our public transportation systems were struggling with structural operating problems. Frankly, unlike pretty much every other country that has robust public transportation, we provide remarkably little tax support for these systems, particularly the multi-county systems that are not nested within one county that supports them. So BART, AC Transit, Caltrans, etc. The pandemic made the problem much worse. Ridership is recovering, but it's not recovering quickly enough. And so the goal of this measure is what it will do is authorize the Bay Area, either via the MTC or via a voter initiative, to place a regional ballot measure on the ballot to provide long-term sustainable operating support for these systems to stabilize the situation once and for all, and also to make capital investments both in public transportation and in roads. It authorizes various options for the funding sources, and it also, this measure does not simply put more money in, but requires actual reform of how we do public transportation in the Bay Area. Most significantly, it will require a strong network manager. Network management is about integrating our systems. We have 27 transit operators in the Bay Area. They are too disjointed. And there's been work over time to bring them into better integration, and we need to be much more aggressive about that. So the bill will require strong network management and strong and enforceable network management, so that for the rider, the experience improves and it becomes more and more seamless to travel on various systems. The bill also contains a provision which Senator Wahab has championed to require a study for the first time around consolidation. We have 27 agencies. While we don't want to presuppose what the result will be, there's been discussion of a long time in the Bay Area about whether we should consider some form of consolidation, and this will require a robust study to actually report back and so that we can have the actual facts. The bill, I want to just note that I've learned over many years, and Senator Dodd and I learned this when we served on the MTC together, that there are few forms of politics quite like regional transportation funding politics. It is always rough and always a back and forth. And I wanted to stress that I am keenly aware that this bill is a work in progress. This is going to require, to have any hope of passing something regionally, it's going to have broad support among our colleagues in both houses in the Bay Area delegation, among the business community and labor and transit and environmental advocates and local government. We have to have as broad consensus as possible to have a real shot at passing this. We're going to continue to do that broad outreach And as you'll hear today, there's a lot of opinions about where we should be going, and we're going to continue to do that work. And then, of course, if we are successful in the legislature, that'll happen at the regional level. In terms of what we committed to do yesterday, I will just note one of them, what we committed to is that the MTC's authority to put a measure to voters will expire in 2040. The tax measure may not have a duration longer than 30 years. The goal will be to raise 1.5 billion annually. Any sales tax will be capped at 1/2 cent. We're keeping placeholder language for the new transit pass proposal in the bill. The MTC can only bond against revenues raised by the taxes authorized by this bill, and they are retained by MTC, and that are retained by MTC. Bonds can only be used for capital investments. MTC, as network manager, will have authority to condition existing STA funds on network management policies, subject to prescribed guardrails in the bill. Other funding streams that exist today will not be changed in terms of being able to be conditioned. The law will remain the same for those other funding streams. And then on the issue of return to source, I'm very committed to continuing that conversation regionally. And so that's what we agreed to yesterday. So with that,
and I believe that, that term sheet's been shared with members.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
And so with that, I respectfully ask for an aye vote and thank the chair again. And with me today testify is Georgia Dorman, the Director of Legislation and Public Affairs at the MTC, and Danielle Schmitz, Director of Capital Planning and Development at the Napa Valley Transportation Authority.
Thank you, Senator Wiener. Before hearing from your witnesses, we have a quorum. We're going to establish the quorum. Secretary, please call the
Senator Glazer.
Here.
Glazer present. Dolly. Here. Dolly present. Ashby. Bradford. Bradford present. Dodd. Here. Dodd present. Padilla. Skinner, you have a quorum.
Okay, quorum is present. So we'll look to your two witnesses. We have two of them, primary, 2 minutes each. Please begin when you're ready.
Good morning, good morning, Chair Glazer, Vice Chair Dolly, and members. I'm Georgia Dorman. I am the Assistant Director for Legislation and Research at the Metropolitan Transportation Commission. We are the transportation planning, financing, and coordinating agency for the San Francisco Bay Area. I would first like to thank Senator Wiener, Senator Wahab for their really bold leadership in leading this bill. I also wanted to thank the chair and Senator Cortese, and the pro tem for all their really close coordination and work on this as well. So SB 1031 is admittedly a very ambitious undertaking. It recognizes that in this post-COVID world, we cannot have the world-class transportation system that Bay Area residents want and deserve without two new things. So first, significantly more dedicated resources for transit and other transportation improvements, and then two, greater oversight and coordination of the region's 27 different transit operators. MTC is sponsoring SB 1031 to deliver on these goals because we believe our region's future, as well as the state's climate, equity, and economic goals really depend on it. The Bay Area cannot thrive economically, socially, or environmentally without a reliable, convenient, and better coordinated public transit system. But this is not just a bill about transit. It is essential to ensure residents paying into the measure receive benefit regardless of how they choose to travel. It's also important for many of our business and labor partners that there are some significant funds to deliver on capital improvements. And so that is why 1/4 of the SB 1031 funds are proposed to make local streets safer for all users. And there's another 15% dedicated to a multimodal infrastructure program that would be aligned with county priorities and consistent with our long-range plan and the state mandated climate goals. Both of these programs are formula-based, with counties guaranteed to benefit in proportion to their contribution to the tax. I ask for your aye vote today so that Bay Area voters will have their own chance in 2026 to vote for a truly connected Bay Area. Thank you.
Thank you. Next witness.
Good morning. Oh, is that working? Good morning, Chair Glazer and members of the committee. I'm Danielle Schmitz with the Napa Valley Transportation Authority and the Vine Transit System. And I'm here today to voice support for 1031 NVTA holds a unique position because we're not only a congestion management agency, but we're also the sole transit operator for Napa Valley. Like many transit agencies across the United States, the Vine transit system is still recovering from the effects of the pandemic. And while ridership is recovering slowly, additional revenues are needed to increase frequency and expand service hours and improve connections to the Central Bay Area, which is critical for our labor market to provide a robust transit experience for the 4 million plus visitors Napa County hosts each year. 1031 is a balanced bill that has taken into account feedback from transportation professionals as it works to modernize and improve connectivity to the Bay Area for residents and workers, regardless of how they travel. MTC and a wide range of Bay Area stakeholders, including NVTA and other transit operators, county transportation agencies, business and labor and advocacy organizations, have been convening since 2022 to ensure 1031 addresses the Bay Area's top needs and priorities. SB 1031 complements the work being done by MTC. As Ms. Gann has pointed out, MTC's regional network management and oversight establishes guardrails to ensure MTC's network actions are consistent with the legislator's intent to improve the transit riders' experience and increase Bay Area transit ridership. Therefore, I'm here to express NVTA's support of this bill and urge the committee members to vote aye today. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much to both of you. We're going to now open the microphone up for those who want to indicate support for the measure with just a me too, your name, affiliation, if any, and support for the bill. Please come up to the microphone now.
Good morning, Sebastian Petty with Spur. We support and seek amendments.
Thank you.
Jonathan Cole with Climate Action California. We support and seek amendments.
Thank you.
Jim Lights on behalf of the San Francisco Bay Area Rapid Transit District also support if amended, but we look forward to reviewing the amendments from last night and moving to full support very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Francisco Morales here on behalf of the Housing Action Coalition in support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeannie Wardwaller representing Transform, member of the Voices for Public Transportation Coalition. We support if amended. We'd like to see additional progressive mechanisms included in the bill, such as the income tax. We also
Thank
ask
you.
that
This
highway
is just an
expansion.
opportunity for me too, but you're welcome to submit testimony, and I know we've met offline already, and appreciate your input.
Good morning, shared members. Andres Ramos with Public Advocates, also members of the Voices for Public Transportation Coalition in support, if amended, for the same reasons.
Terrific. Thank you. Anyone else here in the hearing room testify in support? Okay, we're going to move to opposition. Is there anyone in the hearing room in opposition to this measure? I see a hand. You're welcome to come up to the microphone. Provide you with a couple minutes to express your opposition.
Thank you, Chair Glazier, members of the committee. First, would like to express my appreciation to you and your colleagues, Senator Cortese, Senator Wahab, Senator Weiner, for their assistance in trying to put something together that works. As I mentioned to you, Senator, our objection, our board has taken the position of to object unless amended. We are appreciative of the current amendments, but our position is, as you know, is that sales tax are the lifeblood of the Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority's operational funding, and this bill, as currently written, would endanger that opportunity. Therefore, we continue to be in opposition, agree wholeheartedly with Senator Weiner, admire his leadership in transit and transportation. We, like him, believe cooperation and coordination is imperative in order to be successful. We also have concerns regarding the now adjusted ability of MTC to withhold funding associated with operations. We think that sets a bad precedent across the state. Thank you for the opportunity to express our board's position.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair and members, Tobias Wilken with the California Taxpayers Association in respectful opposition. SB 1031 would provide the unelected members of the MTC with unprecedented taxing authority over the Bay Area's nearly 8 million residents across 9 counties, increasing the cost of living and doing business in the area. The Bay Area has consistently been found to have some of the highest business operating costs in the nation, including the cost of labor, commercial leases, and tax liability. SB 1031 would exacerbate this problem by authorizing the MTC to impose sales taxes, parcel taxes, vehicle registration surcharges, and payroll taxes on businesses and residents in the Bay Area. It should not be understated that no other special district in California holds this broad and expansive taxing authority. These taxes would burden working families, penalize local businesses, and harm the economic prosperity of the region. Additionally, SB 1031 lacks the type of guardrails that are needed to protect residents from runaway taxes. SB 1031 does not specify what elections these could be submitted to voters, and does not require that these taxes be approved by the constitutionally required 2/3 vote. Moreover, this bill would result in the unequal distribution of tax revenue between the region's 9 counties. If residents choose to tax themselves, we believe that those tax revenues should be supporting the community. SB 1031 moves the Bay Area in the wrong direction. This unprecedented new local taxing authority created by 1031 would result in fewer employment opportunities for Californians, depressed wages, and higher housing costs, and would discourage companies from expanding their operations in the area. And for those reasons, we would encourage a no vote.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll have Me Too opportunities now. Come on forward and give us your name and affiliation, if any.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Matt Robinson on behalf of the San Mateo City County Association of Governments. We have an opposed unless amended position and a letter on the record laying out those concerns. We look forward to working with the author to resolve them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning. I'm Michaela Wright-Petrick with Samtrans. We have an opposed unless amended position. Our letter is in the file. We look forward to working with the sponsors and with the author. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good morning, Jason Baker with Caltrain. We have an opposed unless amended position. We look forward to working with the author and the sponsors.
Thank you.
Good morning, Grace Copland on behalf of the Bay Area Council. We also have an opposed unless amended position. Looking forward to working with the author. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vanessa Chavez with the California Association of Realtors in opposition. Thank you.
Good morning, Steve Wallach on behalf of the Alameda Contra Costa Transit District. AC Transit has not taken a position yet. They have identified some areas of concern that they've informed the working group, and we look forward to working with Senator Wiener and Senator Wahab on resolving things.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good morning. Preston Young from the California Chamber of Commerce here today in opposition.
Thank you.
Manny Leon, California Alliance for Jobs, opposed unless amended.
Thank you.
Chris Lee on behalf of the Sonoma County Transportation Authority Regional Climate Protection Authority had an opposed unless amended position on the prior version of the bill, reviewing the amendments in the term sheet. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Anyone else here in the hearing room want to indicate their opposition? All right, seeing that, we'll bring the matter back to the committee. Well, let me begin by thanking Senator Wiener. Thank you for your leadership in this area, and of course, Senator Wahab as well. I've enjoyed the opportunity to get to know your world over the last 3 weeks, which has meant meeting with many of these stakeholders that have come up here in support with some suggestions and in opposition with some suggestions. And I know from our conversation that this is a work in progress as you try to find that consensus, which is so difficult in this space, as you and Senator Dodd and others know. I appreciate the term sheet, which is some matters in which you've found some agreement with Senator Cortese when it went through transportation. You have heard from me directly, and I'll repeat it on the record, that while this bill has many fine components of it in its current form, I know that you've committed to continuing to work with me, with Senator Cortese, with our colleagues here in the Senate, and of course, future work with the members of the Assembly in trying to craft that final package, which I know you hope to accomplish this year. And I know that you've committed to, if there are issues that I see as the bill moves forward, that you would welcome that matter coming back to this committee for that review at any appropriate time in the process. And so with that, I'm really very pleased to support your bill today. I want to invite any colleagues if there's any further questions or comments. Okay, looking for a motion on this measure. Senator Dodd has moved the measure. This is due pass to appropriations. Secretary, please call the roll. Oh, hold on one second. Senator Wiener, would you like to close?
Respectfully ask for an aye vote.
All right, very good. Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Glazer,
Aye.
Glazer, aye. Dolly, Dolly, no. Ashby, Bradford, Bradford, aye. Dodd, Dodd, aye. Padilla, Skinner, 3-1.
All right, we'll put that bill on call for absent members. And Senator Wiener, we wish you well on your work ahead on this with wonderful partners here in the Senate. So, All right, we're going to move next to file item number 3. This is SB 1227. Senator Weiner, the floor is yours.
Let's wait for them to clear out. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I want to thank the chair and committee staff for working with us on this bill, on the welfare tax exemption portion of the bill. We've agreed on some amendments. I think due to timing, my understanding is it won't be amended coming out of the committee, but there will be some further discussions with local government, and then we would put the amendment in presumably in appropriations, but I want to make sure I'm not misstating that.
No, I think that's correct. As long as the local government committee blesses those, it'd be good if you put on the record the issues at hand.
Okay. Is that sufficient, Mr. Jared? Do you want me to state more?
I think that I think explaining what those amendments intend to do would be appropriate at this time.
Yep. So right now the welfare tax exemption for moderate income housing is it's simply applying the same welfare tax exemption that other subsidized below market rate homes receive. So the amendment is twofold. First, it acknowledges that there are aspects of property tax that get paid that get remitted to entities other than the city and county of San Francisco School District, BART, etc. And so those will continue. We're not going to impact the non-city of San Francisco recipients of the property tax. In addition, this will be moved from the revenue and taxation code to the government code, and then the city will have the ability then to use its portion of that property tax to incentivize the construction of this moderate income housing. Have I accurately stated it?
Yes, you have.
Okay, thank you. I do my best. Okay, with that said, so Mr. Chair, again, thank you for working with us. This bill focuses on the downtown areas of San Francisco, which are frankly struggling right now. And the analysis does, I think, a good job of laying out the details of those struggles. San Francisco's downtown is one of the slowest recovering downtowns in the country, due to return to work or remote work, and we have a very high office vacancy rate downtown. It's in the mid 30s, and it's probably going to continue to go up as more leases expire in the coming years. Tax revenue downtown is way down, and there are some real challenges. And while many other parts of San Francisco are doing really well and are very vibrant, we just have a big problem downtown, Union Square, parts of South of Market, and so forth. And so this bill does two things to try to help San Francisco as it reimagines what downtown is, in terms of the possibility of not having the financial district be purely office, which is what it has been in the past, and having more of a mixed use future of entertainment and housing, educational facilities, and so forth, helping Union Square recover. It creates a CEQA exemption, which we worked out amendments with the Environmental Quality Committee on, because physical changes are likely going to be necessary, and we want to facilitate those. And that CEQA exemption has strong anti-displacement protections in it, strong environmental protections in it. It's a very focused, narrow approach to facilitate the process. The piece that is before this committee is creating what we created as a welfare tax exemption expansion. Obviously, as indicated, we're changing it to be a different structure, but to in the downtown revitalization area, to incentivize the creation of moderate income housing. We know that we want the future of downtown to be very, very robust. We want people of all income levels to be able to live there. We want workers to be able to live near where they work, or if there's educational facilities, we want that workforce to be able to live there. We want student housing to be there. And this expansion of the exemption and the property tax relief will help create an incentive. I do just want to note that there are precedents for this. New York City has a fairly robust stock of workforce housing. It's actually huge. And when we ask, how did that happen? It's because after World War II, New York made the decision, because they had a housing crisis then too, to provide tax abatements for building that workforce housing. And as a result, a massive amount of workforce housing was built in New York City. And we should be looking to models like that. I am a huge supporter of investment in subsidized affordable housing for low income people. In the last 5 years, in partnership with the governor, this legislature has put billions and billions of dollars into helping cities fund that housing. We have passed legislation to incentivize and to streamline low income and very low income and extremely low income housing in California. We should also find ways to build for this missing middle income level. I respectfully ask for an aye vote. And with me here today to testify is Jacob Bintliff, Manager of Economic Recovery Initiatives for the San Francisco Office of Economic and Workforce Development, and Carolyn McCormick, the Vice President of Lending and Policy at the San Francisco Housing Accelerator Fund.
Thank you, Senator Weiner. We invite your witnesses to give testimony, 2 minutes each. Please begin.
Good morning, Chair Glazer and Senators. I'm Jacob Bentliff with the San Francisco Office of Economic and Workforce Development, here speaking on behalf of Mayor Breed, who's a sponsor of the bill. As the Senator mentioned, downtown San Francisco has been greatly impacted by the pandemic and remote work. We have a historic office vacancy of 36%. Retail vacancy is going from 25 to 40%, depending on where you are downtown. In response to those challenges, Mayor Breed has laid out her roadmap to San Francisco's future, which is a series of more than 50 initiatives to make downtown thrive into its next chapter. Over the past year and a half, we've made a lot of progress on that. We've had zoning reforms and local tax incentives to support office to housing conversions, local tax relief for small businesses, and a tax credit for new office tenants downtown, significant investments in public safety and cleaning downtown, investments in our downtown parks and plazas, funding for outdoor events, and robust streamlining legislation for both small businesses and housing development. So we've been hard at work at the local level. The intent of this bill is to bring additional tools to bear that only the state can provide, namely an expanded welfare tax exemption to support the development of new rental workforce housing to moderate income residents in the downtown revitalization zone for a period of 10 years. This advances multiple policy objectives, adding housing to our dense transit-rich downtown, repurposing vacant office space, providing housing for workers close to downtown jobs, and increasing foot traffic to our streets and our small businesses that will support our overall downtown economic recovery. While we recognize that increasing the income level here is a significant change to current state policy, we believe it is warranted in this time and place. San Francisco remains the most expensive rental market in the state of California. In San Francisco, new rental units remain far out of reach for moderate income households of up to 120% AMI. New rental units routinely go for $5,000 per month for a one-bedroom unit, an amount that would require a household income of around 200% of AMI to be affordable to that household. Moderate income housing is also the most challenging income level of housing for San Francisco to produce without any existing programs to finance this income level. This bill would add a valuable new tool in stimulating long-term affordable housing for those households for a limited period of time in a targeted geographic area where the need is most acute. Yes, we thank you very much for your attention today and ask for your support in helping us revive downtown San Francisco. Thank you.
Next witness.
Good morning.
There you go.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members, for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Caroline McCormack, and I'm the Vice President of Lending and Policy at the San Francisco Housing Accelerator Fund. The HAF is a community development financial institution that delivers capital to create and preserve affordable housing for low and moderate income communities in San Francisco. Since we've launched in 2017, we've invested $450 million in over 2,500 affordable homes in San Francisco. And among that portfolio, approximately 40% of our projects have involved the acquisition of mixed income buildings serving households from 30% area median income up to 120% area median income. And in our experience, households at that upper end of that range, what we call our middle income or workforce housing, also struggle to secure and maintain affordable homes in our city. We're talking about the marine biologist living in one of our buildings or the freelance photographer with 2 children who finally landed a family-sized apartment. They contribute to our city's economy and vibrancy and yet face ongoing housing insecurity. And as Jacob noted, the reality is that few financing tools exist at the local or state level to reach middle income households. And that's why the HAF is excited about the welfare tax exemption component of SB 1227. It provides a benefit without the creation of a direct subsidy program. In a job and transit rich city like San Francisco, we think that extending the charitable purpose of the welfare tax exemption for middle income workers makes sense in this moment, in this geography, and represents an important affordable housing strategy for the city for an underserved segment of the market where there is currently limited government intervention. And we don't think that this comes at the expense of creating the deeply affordable housing that our city also needs. The low income housing tax credit program is the primary source of financing affordable housing, but this program is limited to buildings restricted usually up to 60% area median income.
If you could sum up, please.
And so we need more tools for middle income housing. And so this bill represents a unique opportunity, and the HAF respectfully urges you to vote aye to support moving it forward.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to now turn to those here in the hearing room who would like to come up and give a Me Too in support. Just name and affiliation and position, please.
Good morning, Chair and members. Martin Radosevich on behalf of SPUR in support.
Thank you.
Ryan Elaine on behalf of the California Retailers Association in support.
Thank you.
Francisco Morales here on behalf of the Housing Action Coalition, also in support.
Thank you. Anyone else in the hearing room want to indicate their position in support? Seeing none, we're going to go to opposition. Is there anyone here who is in opposition to this bill? To invite you to the microphone, and you're welcome to have a few minutes to express your opposition.
Good morning, Angelica Cabande, Director of SAMCAN. We are one of the many organizations that is opposing SB 1227 unless amended. Since 2000, SAMCAN has participated and worked closely with city departments like MOHCD to address affordable housing, tenant protection and preservation issues, the housing element, and many more. We are pro-development as long as it centers around people and equity. There are 2 components to SB 1227. First, it proposes to remove all CEQA protection from downtown San Francisco, where thousands of people live and work, including families, youth, and seniors. This will create an inequitable San Francisco where CEQA's protection would remain in affluent areas, leaving low-income downtown neighborhoods vulnerable to public health and environmental impact. CEQA does not stop projects. Over 58,000 housing units have cleared the EIR process in San Francisco but remain unbuilt. The numbers suggest the pandemic and other factors are the cause of our downtown problems, not CEQA. Second, the bill also would give tax break to private interests but does nothing to encourage affordable housing, ignoring the needs of vulnerable communities. In the consultant report, the state wants to approve tax exemption in San Francisco but wants to disclaim the state's responsibility. How is this equitable and fair? Where will the city of San Francisco get the funds to subsidize building these housing when the city is currently in a budget deficit? How is the author in San Francisco mayor seeking to address San Francisco's economic challenges with this bill when they are not only providing tax exemption to a large geographic area, but also commencing the tax exemption on January 1st, 2025, next year? How does this make sense in a time of budget cuts? At this very moment, our community of San Francisco at City Hall fighting cuts to essential programs at the time when we need more public funds while increasing the deficit in the form of tax breaks.
Could you sum up, please?
The proposed legislation also includes the Filipino Cultural Heritage District, which is one of the 14 state designated cultural district. This is
If you could sum up, please.
Thank you. This district advanced socioeconomic and ethnic diversity. The state should be working with the cultural district, not rescinding their CEQA protection and giving tax exemption.
Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Teresa Dolalas, and I live in the heart of South Market. And I strongly oppose unless amended. Giving incentives to developers is not a new concept to try to revitalize downtown. In 2011, the Central Market Tenderloin Payroll Tax Exclusion, also known as the Twitter tax break, was passed, which was championed by city leaders, including the then Mayor Ed Lee, as a way to both revitalize the mid-market and Tenderloin areas and simultaneously keep and attract corporate tenants. If taxes on new development projects are reduced, how can we guarantee that the impacts of SB 1227 will not have the same negative impacts on our communities as the Twitter tax break? Senators, I live in the South Market Filipino Cultural Heritage District for almost 50 years. I've seen firsthand, firsthand what these impacts were. My neighbors and I went through 4 eviction cases, and along with hundreds of other tenants, they faced all these evictions. How can you have this SB 1227 be on this right now when we're facing, a lot of budget deficits right now in the city? I'm supposed to be over at City Hall, fighting against the budget cuts. Our school districts have budget deficits. Our children's education, all the different projects and programs which are under the care of the different departments of the city are all impacted. So how do you want us to build, or do you want us to not? I'm not against all these housing development, as long as there's sincerity in there and making sure that this bill is actually for the community. And this, I just also want to also share with you about CEQA.
Your time is exhausted, so if you want to sum up, I'll give you another 10 seconds.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate. This bill tampers the fundamental foundation and purpose of CEQA.
Great, thank you.
CEQA is
Thank you
there
very
for
much.
a purpose.
Okay, thank you for being here and for sharing your
thank you.
testimony. And we welcome additional testimony which you can provide to the committee if you didn't have enough time here today. Yes, you're next up.
Thank you, Chair. Allison Ramey here today on behalf of the California State Pipe Trades Council, State Association of Electrical Workers, and State Council for Sheet Metal Workers in opposition.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair and members, Mike West on behalf of the State Building and Construction Trades Council, also in opposition. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Reina Tello, community organizer with People Organizing to Demand Environmental and Economic Rights, and opposition unless amended. Also was asked by Communities for a Better Environment to give a Me Too.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Hello, my name is Zachary Friel, resident of San Francisco, also work in the South Market in the affected area. I'm here to represent Race and Equity in All Planning, a coalition of over 40 organizations, and we would like to express oppose unless amended. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Marty Buckley Dolalas, and I'm with SOMCAN as well as representing Communities United for Health and Justice, and strongly oppose unless amended.
Thank you.
Raymond Castillo. I'm also with SOMCAN as well as San Francisco Anti-Displacement Coalition. We're built up of over 40 organizations in oppose to this bill. Thank you.
Great. All right. Anyone else here in the hearing room in opposition? Seeing none, we'll close our public portion of the discussion and bring the matter back to the committee. Any questions or comments from colleagues? Senator Wiener.
I just want to say I saw this bill in EQ, made my comments there. I will continue to be opposing the bill.
Okay, thank you, Senator Dolly. Senator Wiener, thank you for your work in this area. I know you and Mayor Breed are certainly committed and passionate about trying to help the San Francisco circumstances in which you find yourself, and that certainly is to be applauded. You know, when I was looking at this bill, the question that went through my head is, on the environmental side, we had a committee to do that work, so that's their work. But in the tax space, what I was trying to wrestle with is the precedent that this sets. Number one, while it's just a San Francisco-centered bill, and I believe, as you know, in local control and the ability to kind of handle your affairs, I was trying to understand if someone else came from another community and wanted the same, how would I feel about it? And the second issue that went through my head was that while in the unique case of San Francisco, that 80% of the money that would be deferred would be money that would be going to the city and county of San Francisco. And in some other jurisdictions, it's a different formula. But what's the matter for state policy review? And I thought that the matter for us was who doesn't get the money when these exemptions are put into place. That there are special districts, there's school districts, there's transportation districts that under the bill as originally presented, while they wouldn't have a say in providing that exemption, that they would have the consequences of it. And how should we as a committee ensure that their interests are protected? The amendments that you have accepted in the committee today really go to the heart of those concerns. They would allow the city and county of San Francisco to take the benefit that they would be giving up. It would marry it with the choice that they would make about whether these subsidies should be, or these assistance that should happen for this type of housing that you feel and the city feels is important. And that for me, if another jurisdiction comes in and says we want the same exception that San Francisco got, that as long as that they were covering the consequences for those that weren't a part of that decision, that I feel like that would be a precedent that I would feel comfortable with, that under the bill as you are proposing to amend it, would be for me that say we've set the right practice if it was to go further than this pilot program in San Francisco. And so there, for people who are following this, they can understand at least the thinking that went behind my examination of your proposal. That's why I'm happy to support it today. There is an element of this that requires the input from our local government committee. They're not here in the room. And I want to show a proper deference to that committee and how this would be restructured so San Francisco could have all those choices that you would desire before them. And so with that, I'm happy to support your bill today.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from committee members? Senator Wade, you can respond or you can put it in your close.
Thank you very much. And I do appreciate the committee creatively working with us on this issue. As you and I discussed, the city can't do these things on its own, requires state authorization because of Prop 13. And I also just want to note, my our former colleague, David Chu, repeatedly tried to enact this policy at the state level, never made it over here, but did not advance. And I think that is a conversation that should continue. But for now, we have a crisis in downtown San Francisco, and this will help. And I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Terrific. The author having closed, looking for a motion here in the committee. Senator Bradford moves the bill. This would be due pass as amended to appropriations. Due pass. Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Glazer,
Aye.
Glazer, aye. Dolly, Dolly, no. Ashby, Bradford, Bradford, aye. Dodd, Padilla, Skinner, 2-1.
All right, that bill will put on call for action.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Wiener. All right, are there any other authors here? Besides, I know we're going to. Well, but we have Senator Bradford. If you're ready, we can go, or you can defer and wait for an author to arrive. Terrific. Senator Bradford's up next. This is file item number 6, SB 1013. Senator Bradford, thank you for your work on this bill, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'm here to present SB 1013, which would create a property tax assistance programs for descendants of enslaved persons program. The program would provide financial assistance in the form of a rebate on property tax paid, helping descendants maintain home ownership and keep a roof over their heads. Many of us know after the Civil War, federal, state, and local government officials working with private individuals actively segregated African Americans Americans and land into African American and white neighborhoods. This housing segregation occurred for over 200 years and through a variety of different government strategies and policies. Certain segregation methods were declared unconstitutional, local governments ignored them or thought of new ways to reach the same goals. Although the decisions of millions of private homeowners, real estate agents, and landlords settled Americans into segregated residential patterns, it was actions by all levels of government which expanded and solidified these settlements into segregated neighborhoods that we know today. This bill is a recommendation of the California Reparations Task Force, which I spent 2 years part of, and it will counteract the property tax barriers that have been reinforced the existing patterns of housing segregation in California and across the nation. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Bradford. Do you have any primary witnesses?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, we invite. No.
Not here.
Okay, we would invite anyone who'd like to come up and speak in favor of the bill to come join us here at the front microphone. Welcome to the committee.
Good morning, committee members. My name is Kim Mims. I'm here with the Coalition for a Just and Equitable California, CJAC, ARC, Sacramento, and Amend the Mass Media Group, and I am in strong support of 1013. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Morning, Chair and members. Senator Bradford, Chris Lawson, Coalition for a Just and Equitable California. On behalf of the coalition, strong support also on behalf of the Lineage Equity and Advancement Project out of LA, California Black Lineage Society out of the Inland Empire, and the American Redress Coalition of California out of the Bay Area, all in strong support. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning again, Karen Lang on behalf of the California Association of County Treasurers and Tax Collectors in support, and they want to be helpful in developing the program when it comes to life. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle Rubalcaba with Nielsen Report on behalf of Contra Costa County, also in support.
Thank you.
Morning, Henry Ortiz with Legal Services, Prisoners with Children, all of us and none in strong support of this great bill, Mr. Bradford. Hopefully we could get one for the Yuto Azteca descendants, our native people here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Sydney Fong with Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders for Civic Empowerment, AAPI Force, and Alliance for Reparations, Reconciliation, and Truth in support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else here in the hearing room want to indicate their position of support? All right, seeing none, we'll move to those in opposition. Is there anyone here in the hearing room that wants to speak in opposition? All right, we'll bring the matter back to the committee for comments or questions. Senator Dolly.
So, Senator, we've worked together on my office, actually, if you recall, when I was in the Assembly, we did the Freedmen's Bureau and actually had the Mormon Church, which did a lot of work in trying to trace back lineage to slavery, and actually went through the whole Freedmen's data. And I know the Assemblymember Joan Sawyer and many others came and tried to trace back. So I want to ask a question on that. So trying to get the gist of how this was going to, how it's going to work, because one of the my concerns is that we've had a lot of immigration come to America prior to slavery, and how do we determine who's actually a descendant of
and that's why we have SB 1403, which will establish the Freedmen's Bureau. That's another bill that I'm working on that will have genealogists that will help determine those individuals eligible. Again, those who are direct descendants of chattel slavery, which we know it's going to be a challenge in tracing that, or anyone who arrived to the United States prior to the 1900s.
Okay. That bill is separate of this.
Yes,
right.
But it's going to help determine.
So you can trace back. So
Yeah.
you actually are. So the system can't be gamed from somebody that wasn't actually.
That's why we were very
Our
specific.
family wasn't impacted by.
The language of the Reparations Task Force that our former colleagues, Dr. Shirley Weber, authored AB 3121, clearly stated descendants of chattel slavery. it's not going to capture everyone who says, hey, I'm here. It's those who can trace their lineage to chattel slavery, or those who arrived in the United States prior to the 1900s.
Thank you.
Very good. Senator Bradford, thank you for your continuous work in this area. I know it's not been easy. You spent a lot of time with the task force and their thoughtful recommendations, which we're considering today. I appreciated the conversation that we had yesterday in regard to the bill before us, in ensuring that we could provide the benefit to all those who meet the test, not just those who are property owners. That if you're a renter and you're a descendant, the concern that I expressed was that we should be treating them the same. And I think you have indicated that is your intention.
I accepted your amendments. I failed to state that in my opening
Right.
statement.
So I just wanted to have on the record then. Would you like me to describe it, or do you want to describe the
You can
amendment?
describe it.
Okay. So in regard to ensuring that we would treat everyone fairly under the bill, that it would allow renters who meet the definition of a claimant in the bill to also receive assistance based on the amount of property taxes paid by the property owner where they're renting, the amount of time they've rented in a calendar year, the number of people paying rent at a given address. So these are elements that will be put in the bill, as I understand you're accepting those.
I'm
today,
accepting your amendments.
to ensure that the benefits of this to account for that trail of discrimination, which is so unfortunate but true, that they get the benefits of what you're proposing today.
Exactly.
Okay, terrific. And I think that for me sums up why I think this is a bill that's worthy of support today. And I'm happy to support it if we have a motion now or as we continue this discussion today. Is there anything else you want to add in closing, Senator?
No, I appreciate the support, not only from this committee, but the witness who came to testify. This is not an easy issue, but it's one that needs to be addressed. And again, it's a lot of folks who are still in denial of California's role and slavery and the impacts that it still has in this state and this country today. And the Reparations Task Force, which I challenge every member of this legislative body in both houses to read, those 1,100 pages clearly spells out all what we have discovered, all that needs to be known, and why this is so important. So I respectfully ask for aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Bradford. I'm going to pass the gavel over to Senator, our Vice Chair Dolly. I'd be happy to move the bill as amended. So
Motion is to pass as amended to the Appropriations Committee. Senators Glazer,
aye.
Glazer, aye. Dolly, Ashby, Bradford, Bradford, aye. Dodd, Padilla, Skinner, 2-0.
We'll leave it open for absent members.
I'll leave it open for absent. Are you present your bill?
No, we have an author in the room. Thank you, Senator Dolly, for your work as leading the committee. We're gonna now go to the next author who is patiently waiting in the room. This is file item number 5, SB 1362 by Senator Newman. Doing double duty today over at Education. So thank you, sir.
It's a busy day.
It is.
Appreciate that. Mr. Chair and members, I'd like to swap this bill out for a bill. I have a bill on clear I'd like to bring to this committee.
I hear that's a popular one.
Very popular. SB 1362. Madam Chair, members, thank you for the opportunity to present SB 1362, which would make a change to the existing Cal-Able Act by providing seed funding of at least $250, subject to an appropriation by the legislature, in order to encourage eligible Californians to participate in this innovative savings and investment program, which helps foster financial security via a 529 investment account. Cal-Able is the California version of Achieving a Better Life Experience Act, a federal program enacted by Congress in 2014 to allow individuals with disabilities to establish tax advantage savings accounts without adversely affecting their eligibility for other important public benefits. Certain disabilities, which manifest during childhood and early adulthood, often prevent individuals from generating sufficient income to support their medical care and basic necessities. And many individuals living with disabilities receive means-tested public benefits like Medicaid and SSI in order to maintain basic necessities. Prior to the ABLE program, individuals receiving such benefits could not save more than $2,000 without fear of a possible loss of eligibility. California's implementation of the federal act allows individuals and families to build financial security without impeding their access to needed public benefits. Unlike so many other programs that are either oversubscribed or strapped for funds, the CalAble program is currently underutilized, and without legislative action, millions of eligible Californians will miss out on the opportunity to save and invest in their financial future. California is one of 47 states that has an ABLE program, but less than 1% of the state's eligible disabled population is currently utilizing the program to save and invest for their future. SB 1362 will encourage eligible Californians with qualifying disabilities to set up the savings accounts to which they're entitled by requiring a CalAble program to make a one-time deposit of at least $250, either through a future appropriation or via fundraising from private donors or other entities. By ensuring the financial well-being of individuals with disabilities, we can create a more inclusive and prosperous California. In light of the current fiscal challenges faced by California, it's important to note that this bill does not include or assume an appropriation in this legislative cycle. Here to testify in support of SB 1362 is Mr. Thomas Martin, Executive Director of the CalAble program, and Ms. Ann Osborne, the Program Manager for CalAble, who is here to answer any technical questions. I respectfully ask for your vote.
Thank you, Senator Newman. We'll go to your witness. 2 minutes, sir.
Thank you. Good morning. Again, my name is Thomas Martin. I am the newly appointed Executive Director for CalAble. With me is Ann Osborne, the Deputy Executive Director. As a disabled Californian myself, I'm very proud to represent this program. It represents a life-changing and a game-changing opportunity for Californians with disabilities. More than half of account holders have a household income of $25,000 or less a year. Many of them they're saving money for the first time. Many of them, this is their very first bank account. So this program is critical, as the senator stated. It's critical for helping Californians with disabilities not be subject to means testing. For decades, they've been told, don't save money, don't put name in your account. You'll run into issues. You'll lose your state and federal benefits. And so this program is critical to make sure that's not the case. Right now, California CalAble is helping parents with children with disabilities save when historically they were told they shouldn't. It's helping them save for future lifelong costs those children might have. It's also helping Californians with disabilities who are working be able to save and grow their money. It's helping Californians get wheelchair accessible vehicles. It's helping them live independently for the first time. These are all things that happen because CalAble exists. So today, why we're here today is talk about how we can keep the program growing. To make CalAble more equitable, to make it reach even more Californians, especially those who might be a little more difficult for them to start saving money. This program this bill would give us an extra tool. It'll help them be more independent. It'll help them be able to self-advocate.
Sum up.
Okay, yes. So to be clear, the funding is not locked in. It could be set in future appropriations, but there's no requirement. But importantly, it would give us a tool to be able to fundraise and be able to provide the money separately as well. So with that, I appreciate your I vote and be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. And I understand you're here just for technical questions. Is that right? Okay. We'll go to those in the audience who'd like to express their support for the bill to come up to the microphone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, Jean Hurst here today on behalf of the California Community Living Network in support.
Thank you for being here. Anyone else here in the hearing room? Seeing none, we'll go to opposition. Is there anyone here in opposition to the bill? Seeing none, we'll bring the matter back to the committee for questions or comments. Members, any questions or comments? Senator Newman, thank you for your good work in this area, and I'm happy to support your bill today. Appreciate all that you're doing.
Appreciate
Hope
that.
that our budget picture improves going forward. Is there a motion from the members? Senator Bradford moves the bill. This is due pass.
The way it currently stands, forced labor, slavery takes precedence over rehabilitation and public safety.
Oh, by the way,
while the Biden administration gives reparations to everyone but free people. Look at the billions he has run over to Ukraine.
We don't have black grocery stores because if you think about it now, just to get in that supply chain, it's almost unheard of.
They don't want the truth to get out. Okay? I don't want to know what my family did or what all these people did and all this stuff like that. Okay? You read that 500-page report.
There's this thing called white superiority and black inferiority. That mindset allows all of the behaviors that we've seen across generations.
I had no idea that that church I was running by every day was something my grandfather established.
This is not a handout. This is a debt that is owed.
You know, Allensworth was like the internet of its time in 1904, 1905.
The total black population in California is about 2.6 million, and then of that, the Descendants compose about 2.2 million of that. So California, with a multi-billion-dollar surplus, can absolutely afford to satisfy the international terms for reparations, beginning with compensation.
Any financial obstacle that exists that impedes the success of increasing financial prosperity needs to be dealt with and eliminated.
No matter where we've been, no matter what part of this fight we've been in, we've been harmed, and we've had harm done to us specifically.
When I got to Los Angeles, this was some of the worst segregation I'd ever seen. And remember, I'm telling you, I'm from Mississippi.
Because as you can see, I'm giving you broken history right now, you know? But I had to give it to you guys today. I said, no, I got to show them this because it's so precious and nobody really knows about it.
Overnight, it's like, oh, it's no longer the quarters, now it's Lincoln Heights. Oh, so now we get to use Abraham Lincoln for our name. And you think about all the other people that they could have used, but they picked Lincoln. And I think that's sort of a stereotypical of what they do.
There wasn't any black restaurants. As far as black business and weed, it wasn't none.
Black people don't have that kind of luxury. Our historically black communities have been redistricted multiple times.
Why has it been easier for other groups than us?
Because of anti-black hatred.
Now listen, if you can't handle the TR room, don't tune in.